This happens every day, all over the state, several schools, and so part of breaking that pattern is starting to talk about it.
Ever since grooming accusations against a now former Shelby County Public Schools basketball coach surfaced, several former students have publicly shared that they experienced a pattern of behavior from the district, accusing leaders of sweeping cases like this under the rug. Tonight, these district graduates are building their own initiative, which they hope enacts legal changes on a broader scale. Wave News reporter Julia Richardson talked to some of those group leaders, as she also follows the Shelby County Board's decisions on this case. Julia.
Jose, a lot of public criticism started when former Collins High School student Haley Weddle came forward on Facebook with claims of grooming against boys basketball coach Chris Gaither. That led to other women then coming forward with their stories about claims against other staff members in the district. Gaither was recently fired, and while survivors say they appreciate the work the district has done, there are still more steps to be taken.
My name is Haley Weddle, and I'm here today to speak on why termination alone does not equal accountability.
In December of 2025, Haley Weddle addressed Shelby County School Board members in a letter in which she detailed claims of grooming against now former Collins High School basketball coach Chris Gaither. While Weddle says Gaither's termination is a step in the right direction, she believes more needs to be done.
I believe that there were more people within the system who knew of this behavior and chose their comfort and his reputation over reporting, which is mandated.
Who was able to do something about this when patterns were revealed or when there was an indication that there might be something going on? Who chose to intervene? How those choices were handled.
And Weddle is not alone. Laura Wills Koppelman is an alum of Shelby County High School, where she says something similar happened to her. Now both women are teaming up for a greater purpose, starting an initiative called Institutional Complicity Kentucky.
We are interested in engaging with legislators about actions and policies and procedures and laws that can change, that will improve outcome for students.
They're advocating for a few pieces of state legislation. One of them is Senate Bill 181, which expands and increases current protections when it comes to communication between educators and students. Another is House Bill 4, which would make grooming a minor a criminal offense. On the district level, leaders are making some changes that advocates have asked for, including adding staff training on sexual misconduct and an anonymous reporting system. District Superintendent Josh Matthews also talked about revising board policies, including claims of sexual misconduct being reported to the superintendent.
The superintendent shall refer such an investigation to a third-party investigator.
Weddle and Wills Koppelman tell me since they've both come forward, they've had several other survivors reach out to them with their stories. They want people to know that even if they aren't comfortable coming forward, there is a group of other survivors ready to support them.
If anyone has experienced something similar to this, you are not alone, and it is not your fault.
It's important to note that Gaither has not been criminally charged as of now. Anyone interested in getting involved with Institutional Complicity Kentucky can go to this story on our website for more information. Julia Richardson, Wave.